So I can also show you how it's interesting to use the EQ on the Tascam. I'll try sweeping the mids at different frequencies so you can hear what that sounds like. Okay, sounds pretty cool. I'm digging the sound. It gets crunchy for sure. Let's go into the DAW and look at this. Alright, so you can definitely see some compression happening in the waveforms, and it got pretty crazy when I was messing with the EQ. I tried taking the bass out, I went full bass. I'm gonna try that with a couple more presets, just getting that really crunchy sound. Okay, one more. Let's try country rock real slow. Oh damn! Okay, that tom fill was amazing. Let me hear that one more time. All right, check this out. I'd say the moral of the story here is that it's cool to do things in super complicated and convoluted ways. Even if it's easier to you could just do all of this in the computer, you could do a saturation plugin. I think that forcing yourself to jump through hoops like this is actually where you find things that you become attached to. It creates a story, you know, you have a narrative of how you got to the sound rather than just like throw 10 plugins on there. And I heard someone say once that magic is just attention to detail. Something along those lines, or like detail in everything. And what that means is that magic, you know, if you believe in like practicing magic, it's like the same as what we're doing here, is that you're creating hoops to jump through, which are basically rituals. You're making extra steps for yourself, and you're creating extra filters through which you're filtering experience. And so, because I'm doing it this way, I could just get samples of the drum machine on my computer. You know, I don't need any of this stuff. But I had to go through this experience of getting the cheap Radio Shack microphone from Craigslist 2 years ago, and then having it sit in my drawer, and then transferring that into a drum machine where I had to go and get on the subway, meet a guy outside of his apartment, get the drum machine, bring it back here. You know, it's like you're filtering the sound through these lived experiences, and that creates a very valuable aspect of the song itself. This is also the thing about AI. I mean, everything needs a story. And if you're just generating something with AI, there's no story, there's no attachment, there's no significance at all. Humans need stories. When we listen to music, we need it to have a story that matters to us. When we create music, we need it to have a story that matters to us. Otherwise, it's empty. So, how can we get even more convoluted with this? We can take this, split the drums into stereo signals, run one of them through the Flint, which just has a very nice spring reverb, and then run everything back into here, try to turn it into mono, or we'll see how that works. We can also try recording the drum machine to tape and then playing that back and seeing how that sounds. So I have to learn how this thing works, and I'm gonna try to create a patch. Okay, so that took me a while, but I figured out how to make a preset pattern, or to make my own pattern on the drum machine. I routed the snare and the hi-hat to either hard left or hard right, and then I ran that into the Flint, and I am getting some spring reverb on that. So I'll show you how that sounds, and then I'll record it. And the last thing I'm going to do is record that to tape and then bounce it to Ableton, and we can see how that sounds. So let's try that right now. Some more spring. Let's try a different reverb. I've got my Type 2 high bias cassette tape here. Pop it in. Press play. Okay, inputs. I'm going bus R, bus left. Record on 3 and 4, and yeah, so that's pretty cool. Pretty cool and complicated, and I think the next video would probably be me making a track with other instruments on top of this, and ultimately I got this so that I could make some lo-fi indie music, because I'm releasing 12 albums this year, and I love lo-fi music. Maybe something more on like the country western side with sort of like a deep voiced storyteller type album, you know, Telecaster into Champ into cassette recorder, maybe some lap steel guitar. So hope you enjoyed this crazy experiment, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.